Hello, I'm Alan, and we have a special guest today. This is my daughter, Nora.
Hello.
And welcome to today's edition of Alan's Cycling Adventures. Today is an exciting one. It is the kickoff of my bike tour across the country. I'm here with my daughter, and I'm going to pan the camera around and show that there are a bunch of us getting ready, pumping up our tires. There's my trusty steed all ready to go. And in a little while, I'm going to be riding down to the beach for a wheel dip, and then we're all heading east. Well, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or ideas for future editions of Alan's Cycling Adventures, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Well, without further ado, let's ride. So as you can see, we all departed as a group. We formed a procession from the hotel in El Segundo. We headed west to the beach, and then once at the beach, we got on a beach trail, a bike trail along the beach, and headed south to Manhattan Beach, to the Manhattan Beach Pier. You can see the bike path now. It was an interesting bike path. There were some areas that had a bunch of sand on it, but for the most part, it was a good ride. And once we got to the pier, well, you'll see what happened next in just a moment. Tide's coming in.
All right.
That was the wheel tip. Time to start heading east. See you on the road. The first thing I want to mention is the first major climb of the day was as soon as we left Manhattan Beach. As you can see, it was a fairly steep uphill, not that long of an uphill, but fairly steep with lots of traffic lights, and it seemed like we caught just about every one. So accelerate up the hill, stop, have to start off again from a dead stop to go uphill, and repeat until top of climb. Also, I wanted to add that the procession to the beach was led by Dana Farmer. He is the owner of Crossroads Cycling Adventures. He and his wife, Paula, have done a fantastic job with all the organizing that they did. And they are making sure that we all have a fantastic time. And they're doing a great job of it. If you're thinking about doing this trip, I do recommend Crossroads Cycling Adventures. They are a lot less expensive than Trek Travel. I have never done a trip with Trek Travel, so I don't have anything to compare it to. But this trip is fantastic so far, and I think it's a great value. Anyway, in terms of some statistics for this ride, the ride was done on Sunday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. We started at 7:24 a.m. and at the start the weather was clear. Temperature was 54 degrees Fahrenheit with a feels-like temperature of 53 degrees Fahrenheit. The humidity was 73%, and the wind was 13.1 miles per hour, but from the west. So while it was in our face on the way to the beach, most of the day was ridden with a tailwind, which was very nice. The total length of this ride was 84.25 miles, which I did at an average speed of 14.9 miles per hour and a maximum speed of 32.1 miles per hour. I had an average moving time of 5 hours, 39 minutes, and 55 seconds, and an elapsed time of 7 hours, 59 minutes, 29 seconds. The reason for that big difference between the moving time and the elapsed time is we did have 2 sag stops, and I also stopped close to the hotel for lunch. One of the things that they went over in orientation was what the farmers call power hour, and that is that the last hour of the ride, about 10 or 15 miles out from the hotel, you should start looking for some place to buy some food and buy whatever recovery drink you're going to want. So I actually stopped with a little over 5 miles to go at a gas station convenience store, got a turkey and cheese sandwich and a chocolate milk, ate the sandwich, rode to the hotel, and then drank the chocolate milk. Anyway, my average heart rate on this ride was 124 beats per minute with a maximum heart rate of 150 beats per minute. According to Garmin and Strava, I only burned 2,122 calories. Not sure I believe that, but that's what it said. I had an average cadence of 73 RPM and a max cadence of 108 RPM. I had a total elevation gain. According to Strava and Strava's map data, it was 2,863 feet. According to Garmin's barometric data, it was 2,999 feet. So not a lot of difference between the two. And I rode a total of 22,960 pedal strokes. So for those of you who like to count steps, that will give you some idea of how far we went. In terms of climbs, as I mentioned, the first major climb was as soon as we left the Manhattan Beach Pier, and the last major climb was about 75-ish miles into the ride, and that one was a brute. It was about 3 miles, maybe a little bit more than 3 miles in length, and it was the second largest climb I've ever done, according to Strava, and it was on a very busy road with a tiny little bike lane on the right side. And as I was going uphill, I was struggling to make sure I stay in the bike lane because the cars were not very respectful of cyclists, as is unfortunately often the case. However, neither I nor anyone else in my group got hit by any cars, so that is certainly a positive. Anyway, one thing I did say I wanted to do was stop to take pictures and some video, and so here's some video.
Thought I would stop to get some of this beautiful scenery. This is just gorgeous. Anyway, that's all for now. Back to riding.
In terms of where this ride occurred, the entire ride was in the state of California. It's going to be a couple of days before we cross the first state line. We started off in El Segundo, went south into Manhattan Beach, and then headed east where we went through Lawndale, Gardena, West Rancho Dominguez, Bixby Knolls, Lakewood, Cerritos, Buena Park, Fullerton, Placentia, Anaheim, Orange Hills, Coronita, Corona, Home Gardens, La Sierra South, Arlington South, Arlington Heights, Victoria, Mission Grove, Edgemont, and finally arriving in Moreno Valley. We saw some amazing scenery. Of course, the start of the ride was fairly flat, with the exception of the climb away from Manhattan Beach. But once we got away from the Los Angeles area, we did see mountains looming in the distance that got closer and closer and closer. Went through a few minor passes to get past some of them, and ultimately had that second major climb, which was from mile 75-ish to about mile 78 and a half, somewhere around there. That was a challenging climb in the sense that, as I mentioned earlier, people were not being very respectful of the cyclists and were blowing past us very fast. But shortly after the top of that climb, I stopped and got lunch and picked up a new subscriber to my channel who is going to be following me as I cross the country. Exciting stuff. I always love getting new subscribers, and it's always fun to meet my subscribers. Anyway, tomorrow's another big day. Tomorrow is actually 90 miles, and while there's, I think, about 2,000 feet of climbing as well, it's all at the start, and then after about mile 40, it's literally all downhill. So that's going to be an interesting ride. After I post this video and write my blog post, I am going to head to bed because it is a big day tomorrow. We have an early start again, and have to get my rest. One other thing that I am going to talk about is my fueling strategy. All through training, I fueled using gels and got my electrolytes from Noon Sport tablets. I developed quite a taste for them, and one of the problems that I have is my bottles leak a little bit, which with the Noon Sport isn't a problem. You know, the bottles get a little wet, your hands get a little wet, but the Noon Sport isn't sticky. For today's ride, at the SAG stops, they had Gatorade, and so rather than using up my entire stash of Noon Sport tablets, since our luggage was weight limited, I couldn't bring as much as I would need, I figured I would make do with what I brought and supplement it with what's available at the SAG stops. So I started the day with Noon Sport, and then from the first SAG stop on, I was using Gatorade. Gatorade gets quite sticky when it leaks out of your bottle and ends up on the outside of the bottle. Plus, it's really sweet. You know, if you're not used to that sweetness, it really hits you. So I have to say I prefer the Noon Sport over Gatorade, but I think for this trip I'm going to continue with this fueling plan. Anyway, as you can see, I'm getting to Moreno Valley. And so,
wow, what a great first day that was. Absolutely awesome, great weather, and I did it. One leg down, many more to go. So until next time, stay safe out there.